What's going on, guys? JPA here, and today I'm going to be going over how to hold with conviction in your trades and what to look up for in your setups. And the example I'm going to be going through is our Microsoft trade we took. So with that, let's get into it. So here's just kind of the Microsoft, just have a 10-minute chart up of the last few days. So what you want to take note of here, so we added these Microsofts at 237 on August 8th. So August 8th, right here, 237's right in this range. So I just want to show you what we're looking at and just kind of using Trend Spider here and plopping it on. So here's where we bought 237, 279.5-ish. It was getting, here's where it dipped down off that sell and got bought back up again. So the thought process was, hey, this is an area of interest that we should look at, just a nice little support zone, and it ended up working out pretty nicely into the close. So it got a nice 30% bounce, but as you saw, it sold off in the morning, and that could have caused a lot of people to panic. So one of the reasons that you don't necessarily want to panic out or get shooken out or don't worry or whatever you want to call it, to have that conviction through your trade, you want to do a little bit of research on it. So before going into this trade, over the weekend I looked at the Microsoft flow for the most active chains, and I'll just open it up here from what it was. And I noticed right here there was a lot of really packed in 280, 290 calls. So they were kind of huge percentage at 87%, 70%, 69.6%, as well as some other bullish activity up there. All primarily calls. When you see a lot of calls, it's always more upside, even if it's, so obviously there's some call selling here, but if it was more aggressive on the downside, it would be put buying, not call selling. And this is from Unusual Whales. So I had the, you always like to feel like, well, if I'm going to lose $100, $1,000, whatever, you feel better if you see someone else losing $1 million, because at least they might have more tools at their disposal than you. So I said, well, this is worth holding out for, so I'm not going to get shook out on that dip. And then once we reclaimed that 279.5, we really flew up. So we had another 50% trim on that day, August 9th, one day later. So that gave us the ability to hold the position longer. So you want to be able to have a level of comfort with what you're doing. So if you're going to be putting your rent on an option position, you're likely going to get shooken out just because you're going to let the emotions get the better of you. You're going to be worried about what's going on. But if you're in a position with only what you can afford to lose, you're going to be more confident in your abilities. I always say, like, I grew up with but I guess cut my teeth with the sports betting when I first started in the kind of how can I make extra money world. So once you put your money in, as soon as that ball gets kicked off, you can't take it out. Options is a little bit different, where you can take the money out. You have some flexibility of what can go on. So that's why I kind of drew to it. But what the real gist of it is once you're going to put in money on an option play, you need to just assume that money is either fully committed or lost, and will you be okay afterwards? If you put your college tuition on an option play and it goes away, what's your life going to be like after that? And you're always going to assume the worst, and you're going to be looking at the screen 24/7. You're going to be worried about what's going on. But if you only put in what you can lose and you're really focused and you do your research, your due diligence going in, you're not going to have that exposure where you're getting shooken out. And we'll kind of make this look even better. So just jumping back to the 90-minute I used to kind of help draw everything, was we had this nice wedge up here. So the trend line held, and I call this the Win Lambo wick, and this was kind of why I went with the 287.5 calls, just a little bit further out of the money. They were not only cheaper, but we knew we had CPI coming up. So CPI is always a little bit of a gamble with what the inflation is going to be or not be. But a lot of times a chart pattern will supersede news. So if a chart looks really, really good, often there might be news that comes later, and then it's going to cause that breakout. So, well, a lot of people said it might have been a gamble to hold through CPI. The chart was so close I can almost taste it. I have it written up there because you knew something was coming. It wasn't going to be I hope this happens, or maybe it will, maybe it won't. The chart was indicating a move, and a catalyst event was also happening in a similar time frame. So that's where you kind of get those really explosive plays. and that's how right it opened this morning. The calls went from 80 cents to 3.8 just because that instant event, and then we took profits early, and it had a nice move back up towards the end of the day too, as you can see. But always, 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 when you're in these big options plays, when there's a big gap up, if you can book profits in that first couple minutes of the day, you're going to have so much premium attached to your options that they're going to be worth a lot more than holding it through the day, because we creeped up slowly all day and had some consolidation. But the high day was near the end of the day, and your options were less than what they were at open. So that's another thing you kind of got to understand is you're dealing with premiums, and you'll see different people, they might buy really deep, really at the money calls, and there'll be a lot more far out of the money calls, and there'll be a lot less. And you kind of got to find that sweet spot where it's close enough to the money that when it runs, it works really well, but it's not so far out of the money that if a pop happens and it takes too long, you get lost. So going back here, the reason I took 287.50 calls is because I can see that there's 290s and 300s. Like this 300 was only 12 days away. So if I'm 287.5 halfway there, I can feel pretty confident that there's a pretty good chance that it goes in the money. And obviously, it's really easy to sit here in hindsight and say, look how excellent this play worked out. What you got to remember is you want to set yourself up in opportunities that you're most likely to succeed. And then kind of back to the sports metaphor. You're not going to bet the Jaguars to win the Super Bowl on their first try, but you might bet, let's say, the Buffalo Bills to beat the Jaguars and just money line bet. So there you go. There's a pretty safe idea. You'd feel good taking it. Yeah, that might not happen, but you have at least that preparation work to say, hey, oh, this is a better team. This could happen. That could happen. I think I have a good decision. So when you see a lot of flow come into a name, when you see a chart looking nice, when the market's been in this kind of constant, everyone wants to short it, so too many shorts and the market will just keep pushing higher just by that fact. And then, I mean, the news is getting interpreted wonkily because everyone is trying to guess what's going to happen next. And when everyone knows exactly what's going to happen in the market, it's always the opposite of what the masses know. So if your mom's telling you that you think it's a good idea to do something, or your grandma says maybe I should do this, it's probably the best idea that you don't do that. And then, I mean, you can see the results right there, and then just kind of to show that a lot of people did really good today. Just want to kind of give you your props. So there you go. Boom. Got his 367%. This is probably a painful scroll. Oh man, I don't want to be a bother here, but just want to scroll down and kind of show, like, it was one of those places where everyone had time to get in. Great job. A lot of the $1,300 done with another 500%. I want to give you guys opportunities to get in plays that everyone can get a chance. I don't want it to be a 1 second window to get into a play. I want there to be enough time that people get filled, that everyone has kind of good fills to get in. So with that, I don't want to rabble anymore. I kind of rabbled a little bit at the end. Just want to say thank you guys so much for watching the video. Almost at 8,000 subscribers. That's huge. Goes a really long way. And yeah, good luck in the markets, and we'll see you next time.